Okay, so this is going to be the first video in kind of a series of kind of randomizer strategy tutorial things. Now, I just want to say like off the bat, I don't pretend to be like all-knowing about this game. There's a lot I'm still learning, a lot of stuff I'm still experimenting, and there's a lot of people in this community, Yal, Jazznex, Jim, who are like probably way better at this than me, and they would probably honestly just be way better at making a guide than me. But I mean, with like a year of this game and 2 tournaments, I feel like I have at least some good ideas, or maybe not, we'll see. But yeah, as per usual, this run will be using the current standard settings, which, just off the top of my head, 3 dungeons, everything can contain progression except for cubes, minigames, and Betray over 50, and Master Sword and Harp are other required items. There's a few other things there, like 1 tablet, close thunder, stuff like that, but you know, that's the general gist of this. So yeah, we're gonna get started soon. And yeah, and just saying, I have no idea what the seed is. I just rolled it, so this is going to be very interesting. So it's very much kind of like thinking on the spot, I guess, with a lot of things. Although, of course, randomizers have like a few things that you can kind of incorporate into every seed. And also, I will just say that this series is kind of aimed not just at Skyward Sword, but at like randomizers in general. In fact, a lot of the things I'm actually going to be using in this video and other videos is actually from ATZ's Ocarina of Time Randomizers tutorial run, which I'd highly recommend because that's where a lot of my strats came. So yeah, without a doubt, let's get into this. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Right, also on YouTube, I should leave like a timestamp for all of the topics I cover whilst I play the game. So, this first video is going to be primarily about efficiency. I'm going to be making 3 videos. And efficiency, I think, is probably the most important thing in this game. I think that probably... I kind of have like a golden rule that I like to stick to in terms of efficiency. And if you leave nothing else with this video, just leave with the golden rule, which is, if somewhere has more checks, go do it. Now, it's easy to go into like the whole logic rabbit hole, which I've been in. But just, if you only take away one thing, Elements and shit, Fire Sanctuary, is that if there's somewhere has more checks, just go there. Like that is the #1 golden rule, right? Because like say you have Eldin and Lanayru. Eldin has 10 checks, Lanayru has 5. Obviously, the item that you need is likely going to be an Eldin. It's a 10 out of 15 chance. But there is still that 5 out of 15 chance, and that's what the remaining of these videos are about. So, kind of doing Skyloft 1 right now. Skyloft 1 is very scripted, and I think a lot of the early game especially is very scripted. And we're going to be kind of delaying a few checks on Skyloft, such as like Paro's Gift and Betray, because it's much more efficient to get them a lot later, unlike subsequent Skyloft visits. Now, like, delaying checks in terms of efficiency is somewhat aggressive because you're assuming that you'll come back to the area later. It is more efficient to kind of group checks together, but unless it's the early game, I wouldn't recommend doing it a whole lot because, again, it starts to become risky and you might start like to bleed into orphaning checks, which then kind of can sometimes make things messy. So, Farron Pillar is open, so that's cool information right there. I will be making a bit magic file. This is just for Tentacle Skip, or potential of Tentacle Skip, as Sandship is a required dungeon. But yeah, it's like, the beginning of the game is quite scripted. I don't really know the exact reasonings of like why, other than it's just efficient. And currently the meta is to do Academy, is to full clear Academy, full clear Skyloft except for Paro's Gift, then usually either go to Surface or back to Skyloft, depending on what the checks look like from there. I'll explain a bit more about that when I get to it, but for now it's just going to be just kind of clearing up Skyloft 1. One thing to note, one thing I will say, right, is that the checks on Skyloft 1, most of them are going to be Sphere 0. And now, Spheres I'm going to talk about in the third video, which is going to be primarily about like logic and how that interacts with, or how you interact with logic in terms of like randomizers. But like, I guess just kind of like to sum up, like, the randomizer kind of just works in spheres, so like anything open at the start is locked by sphere is like known as sphere 0. Anything that's locked by any items that are found in sphere 0, say if like I got ding mitts, any ding mitts checks that I could do after getting those would be sphere 1, and so on until you get to the end. And again, I'll explain about that more. Like for now, you don't really need to know any of that. I'm mostly kind of just rambling and waiting for myself to complete Skyloft 1, but like that can be something kind of useful to think about, because in general, things in Sphere 0 are kind of quite useful, because normally they're put there with a purpose. But you know, it's like, again, I'll discuss this more in the logic, but for now it's just kind of thinking about efficiency, thinking about kind of how you're like routing things. And I guess, yeah, in early game you can definitely do a lot more, I guess, of kind of grouping checks together, like for example, grouping Village and Betrow with Skyloft 2. Although it's like, you do want, of course, want to be careful that doesn't end up, like, going into, you end up altering checks, basically. So yeah, just kind of going through the motions here. I think that now is also kind of a good time to start counting checks, and again, this is kind of ties into what I said about the kind of like the golden rule, is just kind of, so basically again, the place I'll go to after Skyloft 1 will depend on how many checks are whenever. And as of right now, making this video 19th of February 2022, I only really count in logic checks when I'm going to places. I will still get out of logic checks and hint zones, of course, because you, like, especially in the early game, it's useful to get those, because going out of your logic can be useful, which I'll get into later. But it's like, when going to somewhere, you kind of, like, you're trying to, like, look for certain items, and, like, say, for example, I think a good example of this is Lanayru versus Skyloft. It's like Lanayru was the opening tablet. And there's only one thing in Lanayru. I suppose, nice. Yeah, there's only, like, one thing in Lanayru, right? Yet, there's 4 additional checks you can get out of logic, right? But on Skyloft, there's about, like, 4 checks. Normally. And if you were to just read, just ignore logic and just go, for the other game, just go, right, I'm gonna go to Lanayru. Then it's like, it's much more likely on that setup that a bomb bag or something would actually be on Skyloft, because, again, logically, that's where the item would be. And so, if you go to Lanayru, just purely counting checks like that, then you kind of lose, like, it's almost kind of inviting yourself to dipping things more than you should, because, like, you're not following logic too much, or, like, kind of, like, by going out of logic quite a bit. And now, I wouldn't say following logic, like, too, like the word is like either a good idea as well, because normally, like, if you do go out of logic a little bit, it's like a little bit faster, and also you gain information about the seed by getting things out of logic, which can make you skip like entire regions without hints. So beetle and okay, that's great. Write those down. Beetle scale on 100-3. Now I just choose to write down hints and stuff. You don't have to, of course, I just do because I don't trust my brain with this information. So it's like, yeah. And yeah, I do kind of treat hints as, like, checks in their own right, but, like, again, I won't count them when I'm going to places. At least now. That might change. It's changed quite recently a few times. Like, I used to kind of count hints. But right now I don't, but it might change. So looking at the things, there's about, like, 3 things I can do in Skyloft versus 3 I can do in Farron. Okay, so it's about, like, even. So when it's about even like this, I'll normally, like, kind of look for, like, tiebreaker scenarios, so such as that's when I start counting out of logic and yeah, out of logic and hints. And right now, Farron would have a lot more of those. So I think by default I'll probably go to Farron anyway, because again, there's like 2 more hints I can get additionally and an out of logic check. What does this hint say? Village and beetle on shed. Okay. So now with these hints, I'm starting to be able to, like, paint a picture of what the game wants me to do. And actually that village beetle, so that might change things a little bit. So what was it again? It was beetle on shed. Yeah, okay, so that village beetle, because we got Gust Village, which opens up one thing in Skyloft, it actually kind of changes things a little bit, because again, it's still kind of like 3 for 3 in terms of checks, but I think that, like, the village build makes it a lot more appealing, because again, we're just trying to, like, we're almost trying to, like, guess with information where items are going to be. And of course, like, kind of, again, a 10 out of 15 chance is always going to be more likely to house an item. But I think that... Oh my god, I failed that so badly. But yeah, like, that Spirit of the Swords hint definitely makes things a lot more likely. And assuming by watching these you kind of know what, like, Spirit of the Sword or Way of the Hero hints, as they're called in Ocarina of Time. But for those who don't know, it's essentially, there's a required item, or a logically required item in this region. So grounds. Okay, that also... this game is kind of... Why did that? I don't have a bottle. This game is kind of making me flip-flop between a few things. So it's, grounds... I think right now I'm kind of committed to doing Skyloft, so I'm going to kind of do that. Because I think, yeah, I'm kind of committed, so I've kind of gone past the Farron Pillar at this point. The other one was like, well, Retro 50 was dead. And nice and nunchuck. So yeah. I know, it's hard in this specific situation, because it is basically just a 50-50. But yeah, it's like, actually wait, I can get a thing here. Yeah, always look at your tracker. I just like glanced at the tracker and said, wait, there's one more thing I can get in this guy, because I had Spiral Charge, yeah. Another thing, in general, please look at your trackers as often as possible. You will not believe how many races I've lost because I've just forgotten something because I didn't look at a tracker. So yeah, almost catastrophic, but not quite. Okay, so that makes more... I can now do 10 crystals if I need to. And yeah, I do think that getting 5 loose crystals isn't that big of a time loss, because you're essentially just kind of running from one side of Skyloft to the other. So, and it takes like a minute or so if you're quick about it. But yeah, so it's just like, I kind of count like the amount of crystals I have in like +5 when making these decisions. So right now I'd say I can do like 4 things in Skyloft, which I guess kind of like, kind of aids the case for going to Skyloft here. But again, it's such a 50-50 that I don't like necessarily think that things could necessarily be on Skyloft. It's more just kind of like a, this is much more of a guess than a kind of, I'm going to go here because items are here. Although again, the Village Spirit of the Sword did kind of look favorable. Okay, I like that. Okay, now I will get 5 crystals. I guess that kind of bleeds nicely into Spirit of the Sword hints. At least for the early game, I wouldn't like completely bank on them. I will use them to kind of morph my decisions. Like for example here, it was kind of like a kind of tiebreaker between Farron and here. But I'm not going to say, okay, well there's like one Spirit of the Sword check, so I'll go here. Because I think that's, because again, it's only logically required. For example, in a seed like this with Fire Sanctuary, there's a Mogomit which might not be required, Hook Beetle which might not be required. And I guess even Claw Shots, which they are kind of required for Sandship, but like, you can technically just skip Claw Shots in this game for Fire Sanctuary. So it's like, it doesn't guarantee that you'll get an item necessarily, but it makes it more likely there'll be something useful, because, you know, it could always be a harp, or it could always be a tablet that you need. So, it's a good idea to morph them into your decisions into the early game, but, like, but not, like, make it completely dependent on what you do. So again, it's here, it's kind of like, you know, I had kind of 2 options, and there was a Spirit of the Sword at, like, 1 option, so you kind of just went there because, kind of gave me a little bit more kind of direction. I guess it's also a good idea of, like, normally from about, like, this point, it's a good idea keeping track of how many items you are from, like, I guess items from Go Mode, which I'll count in a minute. And also kind of how many Spirit of the Sword items you could get, because I think that if you count these, like, as, like, early on, then you can normally, make better decisions. Like, if you know that you've gotten, like, if I knew I got Mogmits and Hook Beetle, I wouldn't have to worry about getting, like, a Jabati Spirit of the Sword, I guess. So yeah, just kind of doing Skyloft stuff. There's not much to say here other than, you know, the decisions I made. That was weird. Nice movement. Anyway, I will do Sparrowt here, which isn't the most efficient option, but it's definitely, like, it's a safer option, because it's like, I think the more you delay this, the more you think, oh, I'm not going to need Sparrowt, and so it's like, it's better to get it here for convenience, I guess, if anything. So I feel like that, I mean, obviously, like, if you want to be as efficient as possible, you delay this until you need it, but that's like, you kind of open yourself up to human error at that point, if you, like, forget it or something. It's just, and also, like, you might be an Elden and get the claw shots, and they're like, oh great. So it's like, I guess in some situations it makes sense to delay this, but I just like to get it early because again, just the convenience that it offers. Okay, so yeah, now we have 10. It says 9, but I just forgot to mark one, so I'll do that. Once I push this, so Doge 10, so now we can do Patrol. Fun fact about Patrol actually, Patrol is, I think in 5000 T simulations done both by Battle Cats and Jim. Patrol is like the most likely place in the entire game to house items, or house any form of like progressive item. And by progressive I mean something that you would need like harp or digging mitts or like just anything that's like useful. And here it's money, so I'm not complaining because, you know, scale is in Beetle, which could be useful. Okay, we're getting a few songs quite early on, which is interesting. Yeah, nothing straight up from Patrol. So then we'll do probably Malara or Malara. God damn, I had this conversation in my chat yesterday. Anyway, so yeah, we're gonna do the Gust Bellew thingy because we have that, and this is kind of again why I kind of chose to do like Skyloft as opposed to Farron was primarily because of that, like village Spirit of the Sword, which kind of like in my mind make it a little bit more likely that I'd find something useful here. Of course, it could be like the thing could just be pointing to Bertie and not Malara, so this could just be useless, but you know, it's like just a little bit more and kind of like tip the balance in like that sort of situation. And if this is useless, then I'll just probably go to Farron. Like especially in the early game, you don't really have too much to read off of, so you can kind of end up with like inoptimal routing, which is kind of fine, but again, it's like you just have to kind of do your best to avoid it as much as possible, basically. So yeah, we cleaning, because why not? Dum 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 dum. Yeah, this is some like riveting gameplay right here. Okay, what is this? Bomb bag, okay. Okay. So yeah, that is kind of how you read Spirit of the Sword hints effectively, at least in like the early and kind of mid-game, is kind of like, you know, because like, I mean, I didn't know for certain that that would be useful, but I could kind of gather that, okay, well it's like, I got Gospelers fairly early on, so, and the hint fairly early on, so normally if you get like those two things, it kind of would make sense if something like Malaro would be useful. And it was like Bomb Bag. So then you kind of have to think about Bomb Bag. Okay, Bomb Bag is like, I don't think it's necessarily required. I can do Beetle now actually with Bomb Bag. Great. That's some logic. But yeah, I don't think it's necessarily required. It might be for like Fire Sanctuary and for LMF, but it isn't like inherently required like anything specifically. Basically gonna. But, I'm not gonna go with that from then. See, this is why I don't like bombs with Beetle. It just kind of sucks. So yeah, I did kind of get quite lucky with that Spirit of the Sword village, because that could have entirely just been something like Beetle, which I guess in this case would have probably also been useful, but like it could have just been like a just like a random item that isn't that useful. I don't think this is gonna work. Yeah, this is way too far away. This isn't even hard. I'm just like being really bad. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, so I guess that's kind of like a bad thing for saying don't entirely follow Spirit of the Swords, because that's kind of what I did there, and it worked, but it's like, I followed it to the point where it wouldn't be a hugely bad idea. And so yeah, it's kind of like using them in like situations like that. Okay, what's this? Please don't be the harp. Ballad. Okay, that's not too bad, because there's like... what is it? I could do early Thunderhead in Farron, so it's not the end of the world. That's like technically not required. by itself. Unless you're doing no bit, then that would kind of suck. Right. Is this the harp? Yeah, it is. Okay. I will get the sword, though. I feel like that's also quite useful. Okay. Harp on 100-2. Again, writing this down. Because I don't trust myself with this info. That's, yeah. Now we go to Farron with a little bit better equipment, i.e. bomb bag. Again, just to kind of, I mean, we're not like out of the early game. If I think the early game is like, or the early game mentality rather, is like the most big section. But I guess just to kind of summarize, it's like primarily you should be focusing on what items, on like, or actually on like the golden rule. I mean, yeah, focus on the golden rule as much as possible. Which is if there's more checks somewhere, just go there. Use hint stones, astrological checks, and spirit of the swords to kind of break like close regions, like for example in this instance Sky of Farron, but don't fully like rely on them, I don't think, because that can sort of lead you to like unnecessary dipping and just generally inefficient routing. Alright, so yeah, 20 minutes in, going into Farron, yeah, not too bad. I feel good about the seed right now, but normally all mistakes happen in the late game for me. So, I'm kind of just waiting for the inevitable. But, you know, feeling good right now. I'm happy that I read that Skyloft correctly. But yeah, also, yeah, Grounds was also Spirit of the Sword, so... By, like, had I got the hint earlier, I'd have probably actually gone to Farron first. But I ended up getting, like, kind of after I decided, right, I'm going to Sky. But this might be it. That is definitely it. Now that doesn't actually unlock anything. If anything, it might be required for Fire Sanctuary. It might be though. Or it might not, I don't know. But yeah, it's like, it's at least something that's useful. And not just like, a chance of being something useful or junk. Tetris Container and Item and Bird Nest. Okay, both useless. So that means I can do Tentative Skip without any worry this time, which is nice. I've been doing Tentative Skip, like, way too much, because I've had, like, just recently I've had Sandship as required dungeons for, like, many times. It's weird. And there was also Item in Bird's Nest as well, that was, dead. Okay. Yet again, this is kind of like downtime of just kind of going through the motions that you've already kind of discussed. And right now the seed is fairly linear because it didn't really open much. The bomb bag just kind of made more checks available in Farron, so it's like, you know, you'd have to go to Farron anyway. So even if I did go to Farron, it wouldn't have been a bad decision. Although in hindsight, I would have had to double dip. But like that'll happen all the time in early game because again, you don't really have much information to base your decisions off of. So again, it's going to be largely based on the golden rule, which can work, as in like in this case as well, but sometimes it doesn't really work. And yeah, that's just kind of like the thing with rando, is that sometimes you can make like the informed choice, but it not pay off. But yeah, that just happens. I can't like defend that. That's just a problem with rando, in my opinion, or with competitive rando rather. In like casual rando, it's like absolutely amazing because then it's like the matches are even more entertaining. But in like proper competitive, like SGL style rando, it's like it's not great. But you know, as the runner with no foresight as to where items can go, you can only ever use the golden rule, which works most of the time because, you know, again, a 10 out of 15 is always going to be more likely than a 5 out of 15. Unless it's rolled by someone like CJ, then it's always going to be 5 out of 15 because, you know. Sorry, CJ. Anyway, Alright, so yeah, again, just kind of going through. Again, looking at my tracker semi-frequently, just in case I've missed anything. You can think, oh, I didn't miss anything, but you know, people miss things. Okay, that's somewhat useful. I'll take that. And yeah, just kind of thinking about what I'm doing now in Farron, how I'm routing this area and kind of again looking at trackers, seeing like potential other plays I can make. Right now there aren't any because it's only Farron and like one thing in like Academy, which is Owlin Crystals. But yeah. Yeah, like Rando I guess also is like really important that you kind of like switch mentalities from like routing to execution and kind of what you're doing in execution, because execution actually does help a lot in a lot of situations. Now it's like a lot of people say, oh, like execution doesn't matter. I think it does, as someone who like entirely depends on execution. I'll actually explain this about more on a video. Okay, I'll explain this more in a video that's centered around execution in terms of Rando. But basically, like, execution can sometimes, like, it can be the tiebreaker between runners who got to the end game first, or just runners with similar routes. But it can also give you more, like, mistake time. So, like, if you were able to clear an area sooner, and that area be wrong, you have a little bit more time on your hands to kind of guess more correctly. So, the faster you are, normally a lot less, like, of the luck you mitigate. And again, a lot more of, like, the sort of, like, close races you can... Nice, none fuck. A lot more of, like, the close races you can win. Oh, I didn't get Lobster Roll. Very sad. Rand is dead, guys. I'm sorry. Right, well, that's the end of video 1. Just kidding. Okay. Yeah, okay, so now I'm gonna probably kind of count the... like, distinctly count the items. Actually, I think that's... Actually, okay. Again, looking at hints, I did get the Beetle Spriver Sword. That was the Goddess Harp. Okay, so right now, I think for go mode, I need a sword, harp, 2 tablets, that's 4, earrings 5, trying to think what else. Nice. Yeah, so earrings 5, claw shots and bow, that's 7. I think at a minimum it's 7. No, at a minimum it's 8 actually because of the Lineary. So yeah, Lineary would be whip. Yeah, so minimum it's 8. Maximum I can see it being 9. So right now, of course, especially with these dungeons, it's like gonna be like a really high number right now. So yeah. But you know, it is good that we do have kind of 2 swords early on. And yeah, I do actually plan on doing early Thunderhead, so which means I could like full clear Thunderhead, which is very nice. Because Thunderhead's one of those regions that you kind of just dip to uncontrollably sometimes, just because of how it's like centered in this map. I say this, there's only one Scout on the map. What am I saying? But yeah. Okay, cube walk. Let's not mess this up. Good. Okay, actually, I'm gonna do it this way. Those chests. This. Guess what's good about doing Deep Woods relatively early in Frown is, at least with the knowledge where Bowd is. Desert and great. Desert and that one east. Kind of like think about the other things so I don't like lose them in memory while I just do this. Nice. Okay. It's a desert and nope, I asked for placing it. Don't do that. Amber on Gloria East. So I can get there right now. I can get the Amber Tablet right now, actually, and I probably will. Just out of logic, and I will, of course, keep that in mind. Well, actually, technically, it technically isn't out of logic because I know where the necessary items are for it to be in logic. So I know where Beetle is. I know where Scale is. So technically, it would not be out of logic. Yeah, opening that Skyview, of course, to do early Thunderhead. And so, yeah. And like, of course in this seed it makes more sense too, because I kind of know where the ballad is, and it's at like it's at 300, and I'd like rather not have to save up that money to do it. Might as well just do Early Thunderhead here. Like, Early Thunderhead is kind of interesting. It's been more so like in the early days it was kind of seen as like a jank play that would only be done by like Jasniks or whatever. But like recently, especially with like I guess recently it's like been a lot more of a kind of viable option to do Early Thunderhead, because a lot of people like will win races because they've done Early Thunderhead. I think even with a better ballad position, I probably would still do Early Thunderhead, because again it gives you that sort of, it gives you that kind of head start to Thunderhead, which if there's anything useful in there, then it's a good idea. But I guess it also does kind of create like a sort of I mean then it's also I guess kind of double-edged sword, because then you can kind of, the earlier access you have to Thunderhead, the more chances you risk dipping it, so it's kind of it's I guess a little bit in that regard it's a little bit risky. But yeah, it's like it can sometimes give you more convenient routing, but also can give you kind of like less. It's more dependent on the seed, I guess. But hey, welcome to Rando. So yeah, just gonna do the 2 more checks in Farron, the bomb will check, and Slingshot. Then probably move to Floria to get the Amber Tablet. I believe there I'll probably just go straight to Lanayru, because again it'll just be, there'll be like so many checks waiting for me at that point. I couldn't do LMF at that point, but it would be like, it could be a good idea to do that. Bomb and then do the thing. Yeah, well, Lanayru Tablet right now just gives us like double the amount of checks we'd have right now, so it would make a lot more sense to go there, because it's like, what, 13 checks open to us, at minimum, off the top of my head. And also, Lanayru's with the sword, as I just remind myself as it's in like the, as I wrote down in hints. Yeah, Lanayru is literally like Spear of the Sword, so it's again more of like a kind of incentive to go there. So yeah, Slingshot. Slingshot's kind of a long check, and like long checks, a lot of people tend to like to kind of put off. Slingshot I usually tend to like to do, because it's you can kind of combine it with other checks like the bomb ball near Erla. And also the fact that it opens up Alan like earlier on, so it's like there's kind of incentive there to do it. I'll do push that, so you check the statue, I think, if I remember correctly. So yeah. This is quite a neat glitch to learn. If you don't know this glitch, then you should definitely know early Floria with this, because it's basically free, and it prevents you from climbing up the Great Tree and doing with Floria the normal way. It's like, it's so much better than otherwise doing it. This top of LMF is dead, and okay. Sparrow has Slingshot, that's not entirely useless right now. So I will write that down, but if I get like any projectile that isn't bombs, then I'll probably just like mark that off, because most other projectiles are kind of better than Slingshot, and doing Sparrow Crystals for them isn't like a good idea necessarily. Okay, I can now remove the Amber and Floria East hint thing that I wrote down. Now I would actually mark that goes out of logic so that like they'll know, but technically I kind of didn't. Well, okay, I did, but I already know where the Scalen's Beetle are, which are kind of required for logic. So well, I guess then it might be worth actually going back to Skyloft and kind of being safe in that regard. Yeah, I'm kind of been doing that actually. I will go to Thunderhead first to give me more time to think, as I'll do that anyway. But yeah, so one lesson I learned from I think SGL, right, was that I went to Earth Temple quite early when I knew that there had to be something on Skyloft, right? I knew there was like Skyloft progression. And that kind of ended up losing me the race, because then I ended up going on like a much wilder goose chase than I would have otherwise. Now a lot of that was of course just down to a very, very unfortunate seed on my part, but also because I didn't really think about what was open to people in terms of logic. So I think that's definitely something you should definitely incorporate into your own things, like, okay, like, logically, what's likely to be here, or something. Okay, Bumble New Ascent is dead, and, okay, so that's also dead, interesting. Yeah, Bumble, the infamous check and fire sanctuary, which is only locked by, the only check blocked by Mogglemits. Yeah, I think in this situation it's slightly more different, because I know what is on Skyloft, and it doesn't actually help me at all in the... Okay, the beetle might if I find another one. Which I guess in itself is actually quite likely, because beetle is technically a required item for fire sanctuary. It might actually just straight up be required. So that might be a good call, but I don't really have the money to do that. If I had 300 rupees, I'd without a doubt go get the scale right now and get the beetle. But I don't really have the money, so it's not really a viable option. And the only other things I could do on Skyloft is like Ghost, Pipit Crystals, and Owlin. Well, I can't really do Owlin because that's another Farron dip. So I think here it makes a little bit more sense to, especially with the money, but also the fact I know that know what the items are. It makes more sense to kind of assume that Linear is in logic, I guess. But yeah, I guess like I'll explain more about logic in the third season, more in like this situation. But it's it's just more like kind of it's good to like kind of pay attention to what is and what isn't logic, so then it can kind of like get you better decisions. Okay, bow, which means I can get rid of the Sparrowt crystal thing, because I already have a way better projectile. Okay, I could do bat 30. Well, I mean, I could do that anyway, but yeah. I can do it without... Actually, no, I can... yeah, no, I already got 5 crystals, I'm saying. But yeah. Okay, what else do I need to do on tracker? I need to mark off Sparrowt, because that's now dead, basically. I guess in this seed specifically it would make more sense to not do Sparrowt as early as I did, but it's like, hey, I didn't have any foresight into that hint, so, you know, it's like... It is kind of a part of Rando that you kind of like lose time, even if you make an informed choice. But yeah, so in terms of, so now I'm looking at the tracker, I'm saying, okay, well there's like a few checks in Skyloft, there's like a bajillion checks in Linear. And as you discussed, I'm treating that as in logic right now. So I'm gonna go for Linear. I have no reason not to. Yeah, the reason I have for going there is, well, I can do like a million checks there. And of course, if I had more money, I probably would go get the beetle, because there is a moderately significant chance that I will get another beetle in Linear, which would make like 2 checks easier. But you know, it's not like, I don't have the money for that either way, so that right now isn't on the table. I guess that kind of like leads me on to like kind of a bigger discussion with long checks. So we kind of like, my audio is really crackling, Jesus. We kind of roughly touched on that earlier. But I think that like things like getting loose crystals or getting a lot of loose crystals and like ruby farming, you kind of have to like weigh them with how much they lose. Like it's like I'm quite happy, at least right now, I'm quite happy to get 5 crystals quite quickly, because they only take like 1 or 2 minutes. And besides, normally you have to kind of, I mean, you don't have to make it dark, make it night to activate Patrol, but it's like faster to do so. It's just like relatively efficient to get 5 checks, or 5 loose crystals rather. Getting 10, that's kind of when it like, you know, transitions to being quite long for me. And getting 15, that's like, getting 15 is like, that takes a million years. And so does like ruby farming. So if I'm like faced with a choice of, okay, I could do ruby farming, or I can get like 1 check in Farron. I'll probably get the 1 check in Farron, because there's a small chance that that could actually be gold rupees, which would then like change the entire, like, they'll basically like skip rupee farming or something. And same if like it was like Betrow or something. Now of course it's like, it's an uncomfortable situation to be in first, and it's a lot more likely that like if that is wrong, then you'll have to do rupee farming anyway. But if it's right, if it's like the progression, then you skip on rupee farming, and if it's a gold rupee, you also skip on rupee farming. So it's like, kind of do checks before you do like long things like rupee farming or extra crystals for Betrow, because it might just be like another graduate crystal pack or a gold rupee or something like that. Okay, we already have... Okay, this is one of the quicker Master Sword seeds, so 38 minutes. So that's kind of good to know. So right now, again, just kind of refreshing my mind on what I need. I need a Ruby Tablet, I need harp, I need earrings, earrings, yep. Claw shots as well. I didn't do that. That is very annoying. Yeah, claw shots as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so now it's dropped down to 5 items, like just like that. Because in the earlier game, you tend to find items relatively quickly, just because there's so many items that you're missing. And there's only like so few checks, but yeah, it's like as you get to the late game, you kind of start to don't get items as quickly. So yeah, now we're already down to like 5 at minimum. Might need more. Might end up needing 7 if Hook Beetle is straight required. I guess more like 6 because I can't really know where that one beetle is. But again, still 40 minutes in, still very much in the early game mindset. And yeah, okay, so that. And so I guess kind of like as I'm kind of like bit of downtime here, I'm going to kind of talk about the sort of like mindsets I have throughout the game. So the early game mindset, which is, as I've kind of established, a lot more about, it's like you don't have much direction anyway, so just kind of it's most important at this point to follow the golden rule. But like things like hints and things like astrology checks and things like Spirit of the Swords can be a lot more like can be kind of like valuable in terms of like if there's 2 places that have similar amount of checks. Yo, what's up, Senra? How we doing? But yeah, just kind of like for the early game, be a lot more focused on if somewhere has more checks, just straight up go there. And mid game for me is normally when I can do all my required dungeons, not necessarily full clear. This is gonna hurt, isn't it? Yeah, that was annoying. But yeah. Anyway, so yeah, like mid game is kind of when I go to like where I can do all my required dungeons, and I'll get into that more in kind of like the second video on kind of what that is, because the second video is gonna be all about dungeons and how I relate to them. Mid game is kind of on late game. I mean, it's kind of when I'm like only 2 items to go mode, and of course I'll explain a lot of these more when I get to them. Fixing the internet sounds fun. And no, I'm not cheating. I just have Master Sword. Nice, Master Sword not loading because of how weird quirk in game has and crashing and stuff like that. I'm like dumb shit. But yeah, now right now I'm just kind of like recording a a strategy video on Skyward Sword, which will be one of like 3+ videos about like strategy in this game. And again, as I said at the start, I don't pretend like I know everything, because I don't. There are people who are way more like knowledgeable than me. I mean, fuck, you might even see them in the comment section. Talk about how bad I am. Just kidding. But yeah, it's like I just thought I'd make this because you know I normally make stuff like this, and it's like why not? I'm top 4 in the world, so it's like might as well get my input on things. Either way. Yeah, so far the seed's gone well. I did quite a good play with Skyloft earlier, reading Spirit of the Sword hints. I don't know, I'm quite proud of that specifically. Yeah, well that's true, Senna. It is rando, but it's like I do think there's like a science behind things though, and like kind of like you can normally make informed choices. You can never always make correct choices, but you can always like make kind of like a sort of like what you think would be the best choice depending on like X, Y, and Z. But it's like, you know, if the seed wants to completely fuck you over, it will do so. So yeah, there's like a lot of luck, but I think there's still strategy. Ooh, anticlimactic Arcatena. Okay, so there's that. So waiting on the desert spirit of the sword to show up. It's like having the bow here, because you can just kind of kill these guys quite nicely. That is very much it. I was quite glad that's there, because that's like semi-convenient, because we're about to just cross a thing lock check. Also, I do need cave ski as well, so it's more like I think it's still like 5 items from Gomid, as they said. So yeah, still very much in early game mentality, just kind of doing more check-ins, regions. Don't you dare, thank you. These guys can be really annoying. Well, these guys are really annoying, like this dude. Yeah, there you go, point proven. I only get back into the habit of throwing the bomb before I do this, because you know, then I'll be at 10. They'll be at 10 bombs instead of 9, like I am now. So yeah, brick sliding. Brick sliding is very useful. I'll mention this later in like a execution-based video, but it's like, you know, it's good to have in your arsenal if you need it, because again, you can do stuff like that. Shortcut chests. And yeah, this would be where the hook beetle would have came into play if I had it, but I don't. So there's that. Okay, that's quite useful. Yeah, so now we're down to 4 minimum items to go mode. One thing I like to do now, actually, is I like to get Dodo's crystals now, and not wait until the end of Lanayru to get this check, because Lanayru is a big region, and sometimes I think delaying Dodo can be quite a bad idea. At least I've learned this. I learned that it almost lost me a race, actually. I think it was what? It was seeding race number 6 in the Winter 20 where I delayed Dodo, and it almost lost me a race. It didn't though, because I did Dodo. Not because I actually didn't make the decision to do Dodo, I just actually made the decision to go somewhere else, and Dodo was just in like the crossfire there. But yeah, it's like I think doing Dodo here can, like, especially like really late game, can sometimes make you, like, if this is good, it can kind of make me not do the rest of Lanayru, which already is quite a big dungeon. But also dungeon region Blair. But also that said though, doing this early, that did lose me a race quite recently, so that was kind of dumb. Yeah, honestly. What was it? Yeah, the swords in the EU Weekly, that was kind of funny. It was like, just a big sword hunt, and then transfer to this, and then it's just like, you know, Doge. This is like, yeah, we have swords in 38 minutes, because why not? Yeah, going back to Lanayru, because, you know, kind of, why not? I guess situations like that, situation like this, like, I could have probably gone somewhere else, but I didn't choose to. I think that this kind of goes into, I think, chaining regions together to be efficient. Now, this is something that I really struggle with, and something which I, like, I'm often too safe about. But I think that a really good, strategy, like, a really good way of, like, effective routing is if you can, like, chain regions. So what I mean, right? What's a good example of this? Say you win the Navy, right? And, oh, this guy's gonna be really annoying, isn't he? Don't you dare. Thank you. So you're in Lanayru, right? You get into it without Ruby Tablet. And you can do everything. And by everything, I mean everything except you don't have the whip. So you can't do... so you can only do pirates in Sansea. Then you find the Ruby Tablet somewhere in mainland Lanayru. And if you were to stick... And of course, at this point, in this hypothetical situation, you'd have mitts. So you could do the entirety of Elden. So say in this in this like hypothetical scenario, right? If you were to just kind of stick to Lanayru, you'd probably stay there and do Sansea. But I think if you look at... But I think just before you enter Sansea, you can kind of look and see, well, there's like 3 chicks there and there's like 15 waiting for me in Elden. At that point, right, if you were to... I mean, it's aggressive to not do pirates, right? But it looks a lot more promising to do Elden, and especially in... it makes a lot more sense to do Elden, especially in late game. In early game, it might make a little bit more sense to be a little more... safe like that, because you'll likely have to do pirates anyway, or go there anyway. Yeah, no, we got fucking LMFs and Chip Fire Sanctuary, because, you know, why not? Yeah, like, in that situation, it, like, makes a little bit more sense to do Elden, because it's much more likely, especially in late game, because, like, I mean, yeah, there's still that, like, 3 out of, like, fucking 18 chance that something is useful in Sansea, and you just waste an entire area. But, like, at that point, it's so much more likely there's something in Elden waiting for you. And I think delaying it more so would kind of be, like, a bad idea. And, like, that situation is kind of, like... It's exaggerated. You're very rarely going to have a situation like that. Oh, that's... Did you have to land up there, my guy? Move. This is so annoying. Okay, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to, like, shoot the thing again. I'll get this thing first. Why not? Yeah, shout out to Leper for removing the things in here, the cutscenes, so those dudes don't like drop down properly. To be fair, that was my fault. I should probably like picked them up when I was on the thing, but you know. Still annoying. I didn't get Bottle Percent yesterday, I don't think. I know I got 4 bottles. I didn't get all 5, though. I want to say I knew where the 5th one was. Which was at Beetle, if my memory is, like, correcting me. But yeah, I didn't get that one, I don't think, if that was the one Beetle didn't get. Oh, Bat 30, right. I think... Did I do Bat 30? I can't remember. For some reason, I'm having a really hard time recalling what happened yesterday. But yesterday was the, you went to... Oh, I did. No, you went to Elden. It was that one, wasn't it? It was that seed. I can't remember what it was, though, for some reason, which is, like, weird. I don't know, whatever fucking short-term memory loss. But yeah, no. Anyway, back to kind of, like, talking about chaining areas effectively. Right, this seed has been a very bad example of that, because I haven't really been, like, right now my options are either Farron, like this Farron or Skyloft, and right now Lanayru still looks like the quote-unquote, like, good idea. But even if I did get Cave's Key here, I'd probably still go to, nice, I'd probably still go to Sansea, because I could do at least some of Sandship, and it might not be, because it might not be required. I knew that top of LMF was dead, I think. How many bombs do I have as well? Yeah, that's enough to last me for a bit. Yeah, I survived the storm. Most of my fence didn't, but whatever. Like, damn, it's crazy. My fence is down so I can, like, actually see the neighbors. Okay, so this RuPaul, nice, fuck you game. Yeah, after that, looking at the tracker. Ah, one thing I forgot. Veneru. I'm an idiot. I'll go back and do that. Or LMF, I mean. There's only one thing I can do, but it's still probably worth doing it. Why did I forget the whole play that I'm named after? What the fuck? Anyway, just pretend that I didn't. Just pretend that I, like, went straight from Light Note to here. Just, yeah. Anyway, like, this is something I was going to discuss. How to do dungeons. Just fucking forgot because I'm an idiot and I'm not looking at the tracker. Again, kids, always look at your bloody trackers. It'll stop shit like this. Anyway, so, you might notice there's only one thing I can do in LMF, but it's still somewhat worth it, because I'm only gonna go to, like, the right part of, like, this dungeon here. Like, I'm not gonna have to, like, repeat anything, because everything I do here is only gonna have to be done once. Yeah, lights weren't flashing too bad here. It was just kind of really strong winds. Although my house was shaking, so that was fun. Okay, it's not like something useful, but you know, it could have been. But again, it's like, I mean, for LMF this makes the most sense, because it's like that took like 30 seconds. It did take more because I'm an idiot and forgot to do it earlier, but you know, just pretend that I did it earlier than I did. Oh yeah, you know it's gonna be fucking Monka Battery in the weekly later. I should have batteries ready, in theory, if, like, I fucking remember them. Anyway, so yeah, it's like, I think that I'll explain this more in the next video, which is about dungeons. But I think that dipping dungeons, in terms of, like, efficiency, dipping dungeons is kind of a good idea, especially if you're, like, close to them. Like, in this case, it's, like, you know, right next to me. And I guess, like, dungeons are things you have to do anyway. But I'll talk about it, later. It's true, Otaku, yeah. If there's no more Goechi for me, then like why bother with the weekly basically. Okay, Elden is dead, I think, and Slingshot, I already knew that. I will write that down because there's a small chance that I might need to hit. Put in SR. And yeah. Keepies, that's useless. That is less useless. Okay, so now we're starting to approach kind of like less and less items. We have like, with less and less items to go. I think now we're 1, 2. Are we just 2 items from go mode? Really? I think at minimum we're just 2 items from go mode. Oh no, yeah, Ruby Tablet and a harp technically. There's still the chance of we needing Hook Beetle, I guess, like scale, because we know with hints that's like what is locked. But yeah, it's like in terms of things that are like directly required, then it's like yeah, this can put us in like a sticky situation with like going to Fire Sanctuary and just hoping that just like doesn't lock a thing. Oh, actually no, I can now do LMF, which I will now do actually because I have Whip. Just really inconvenient, I got it there. I didn't think about it until now, but honestly, yeah, it's like whatever. Oh my god, okay. Okay, no, we do need KC. Okay, so now we're 2 items from go mode. What am I saying? I think it'd be faster to fly. I'm just thinking on my feet. I think it's faster to fly. Yeah. Okay, so the shit just went from 0 to 100 real quick. Okay, so I will do LMF, primarily because it's a required dungeon. Again, I have to do it anyway, so I might as well, like, prioritize it here. Or maybe not, actually. I can do a lot in Elden. Okay. I'm going to go against everything I just said 5 seconds ago, which is great for a tutorial run, but I'm going to go to Elden. Okay, no, okay, wait, I'm falling apart here. Give me a sec. Jesus Christ. Okay. I'll do Oriel first, because I did get a bottle. But, like, okay, like, looking at things, right? In Elden, I can do, like, almost all of Elden, right? I can do all of Elden. All of Elden is open to me. Plus a Fire Sanctuary, which is a dungeon which would be very useful to do this early, right? Oppose that to just 1 required dungeon, And in terms of the golden rule, which I've been talking about, Elden looks a little bit more appealing because it like more checks, and it's just like Elden is just a very check dense region anyway. So yeah, and again, I should explain what just happened there in the dungeons thing later on, but it's like okay, right now I'm following the golden rule right now basically, and there are more checks in Elden, so I'm going there. Also, Jessica should be happy. Yeah, hopefully that made sense in terms of through the fucking chaos there. But yeah. Yeah, kind of delaying Elmith to go to Elden first because there's more check-ins. If I had Caves Key, I probably would do LMF because then I'd be in mid-game, but still right now we're still in the kind of early game mentality, even though we're like an hour in. So we're like kind of transitioning to late game. Actually, no, we are literally in the late game mentality, which I'll discuss about later, but we're kind of in the early/late, to be honest. I guess late game is like actually not that different at all to early game, but like whatever. But yeah, so it like again, I can't yet do all my dungeons, so still very much kind of in that looking phase of trying to get the Caves Key. Is the thing that I'm most looking for. So yeah, now we're in the late game. Just an hour, or late game, like, kind of mindset. And it's kind of weird how I describe it like this, because late game can happen before mid game, like it's doing now. But mid game, like, I mean, yeah, the names are deceiving, but right now, mid game, or the late game mentality just kind of refers to when I'm like, okay, right now I'm like minimum 2 items from go mode. Maybe 3, but I don't know that yet. I'm gonna say 2. And when I get to 2 items, I've kind of found like over the years, it's only been 1 year, over like the year, so far the magic number for kind of transition to late game is 2 items from go mode I've found. And right now we are exactly that minimum. And I kind of go off like what is minimum because again it's like a little bit more aggressive. And at this point in the kind of late game, I'm a little bit more like erratic, a little bit more going for, a little bit more kind of focusing on Spirit of the Swords. Okay, getting rupees, which is very nice for getting scale and hook beetle, or just normal beetle actually. So that's useful if that's required. Yeah. So I'm reading into hints more. Still in a kind of control way, but weighting them a little bit more than I would in early game. Of course, right now there are no hints to read. Right now, there's no Spirit of the Swords, so right now it's like the exact same as like whatever. Ooh, Elden on this health is dangerous. Sea chart! That's useful. Not required, but very useful. Yeah, I think that... so yeah, basically it's kind of like... Summary of kind of like late game strategy for me is just kind of like... similar to early game in terms of follow the golden rule as much as possible, but also put more weight on things like hints, things like Spirit of the Swords. And kind of take more risks here, because the later the game you are into the game, the more kind of risks you can take. I mean, technically, sea chart is not like required, because I can just skip it with back in time, but it makes things so much easier, to be honest. That said, though, I have not done the sea chart skip in ages. Okay. Anyway, going back to the whole whatever the fuck that was with the dungeons. Basically, I'm not doing LMF right now because see you, harm. Take care. Yeah, I'm not doing LMF right now because I like to kind of do all my dungeons, or like, I don't like to delay dungeons, of course. But for like the early game, I try to treat them as like any other region. Like, okay, if they have like, if a dungeon has more like checks, I'll go there. I don't yet kind of see them as things that I kind of have to do until mid game, because if you do like the earlier of a dungeon you do, the more likely you are to waste time in there, because it's like if you were incredibly aggressive, you could like. You wait until you have all of your items, then do dungeons, because then go moding dungeons is of course like the best thing to do. But obviously, that only works if there's nothing in the dungeons. If there's stuff in the dungeons, then well, shoot, you're kind of fucked there, because you just lost location in all the dungeons. So basically, what I kind of do is I'll do For early game, I'll do dungeons if there's more checks there available, and I'll normally count dungeons along with regions. And so, but it's like, I won't like treat them as I don't really think about required things until I get to mid game, because at that point it kind of like makes sense to kind of rush dungeons, because again it's like if there's just like a sword in the dungeon, which like happens way too often, then boom, you just kind of won the game basically. If everyone else just were to go for like check density, for example. But yeah, right now we're just kind of a caves key away from that sort of mentality of mid game. But right now, just very much mounted checks, and at that point, leaving it just made sense to do Fire Sanctuary and Elden. And that kind of also ties into what I said about kind of like chaining things together. Because if I were to just stick until an area, I probably would do LMF, which of course I'd have to do anyway. But again, it's like I kind of looked at the things and go, okay, well, there's much more things in Elden, so I'm going to kind of delay LMF a little bit and then do that. I know I'll definitely come back to it at some point soon, because of course it's a required place. But I'm kind of like, I went through it in my head and I was like, okay, there's more checks in Elden, and if I were to not do LMF, this is already hinted nothing. Yeah, like I kind of like went through it in my head and went, okay, if I do find nothing in here and go back to LMF, it isn't a big deal. Relatively, and of course like the chance of that is kind of low as well, as we've kind of found, and I did find stuff. I found T-chart, which is useful. But yeah, I think that like that was kind of like, that wasn't as cut and dry as like the examples I'm given, like the LMF or Fire Sanctuary thing there. So like that one kind of made a little bit more sense to do LMF, because it wasn't like a complete landslide of, oh, there's so many more things to do in Elden. Or something like that. I think it was like 19 plus whatever the hell I could do in Fire Sanctuary. Like what? Like 6 checks in Fire Sanctuary right now? Not too many, but a few. Summit and okay. Well, thanks for giving me the turf in just after I've done it. Okay, so now it's good ideology of kind of like late game. Okay, so alright, so now I'm thinking, okay, what could be Spirit of the Sword now? I think right now the only thing could be either Hook Beetle, or another beetle, or harp. It couldn't be any like Jabati stuff, like I guess C-chart, but that's like isn't like too Jabati. So I'm kind of thinking that, right? Oh, that's gonna be annoying. Yeah, I'll let them have that. It's fine. I have enough health. But yeah, so I know that Summit is going to have something useful, so I'm going to kind of prioritize that. I'm still going to do these things because, you know, I still do need, like, it doesn't tell me that both those things are there. So I'm still going to do these. And besides, there's another hint here, so that might show us where other things are. Okay, so that and that. Okay, so Farron Trial is dead, and small key is on boss key. Yeah, that's happened so many times, it's unreal recently. It's like, okay, what's that? I like to check that just in case I get to the bomb here and it's like, oh, it's nothing. LMF SK on DK. Nice damage there. And of course, mark the trial down. Gosh, okay. Alright. So right now we're kind of, you know, doing good. Oh, he did the animation. That wouldn't be funny if it had been like harp. If I do get harp or a beetle here, then I'll know that the harp is the only thing that can be in Summit. Or it could be something like rattle leading to harp or something like that. So at that point, I'll kind of act like I'm in kind of half go mode. I say half go mode because again, it's like wouldn't be 2ms. Nice, there we go. Yeah, like only like half go mode because again, there's still that chance I'll need hooked beetle. Actually, no, I would act like I'm going, because I know where the other beetle is if I found the beetle, hypothetically. Right, so yeah. Yeah, again, it's like the funny thing where it's like, oh, I'm knocking things back with Master Sword, even though it's like, Technically it's true Master Sword, but the thing isn't loaded yet because, again, weird crashing or whatever. Okay, and again, I'm not going to do Summit just yet, because again, there's still a chance that Ding Spot after vents and after Ding Lava can be useful. They might not be, but, you know, I'm not ready to go full aggressive here, because I feel like offering these 2 checks, in my experience, this doesn't end up working well. Like, where these, because these aren't horribly far away. They're not, like, close either. They're kind of like, you know, they're like, you might as well do them if you're doing Elden, to be honest. They're just kind of like in that range. So yeah, first thing is kind of saying to me, yeah, nah, you are useless playing this game. I've just realized I know where Harp is, and I forgot to write it down. I'm an idiot. Why am I... Nice. Harp is on the fucking beetle, isn't it? I know that. I even made a hint about it, I just completely ignored it. That's so depressing. That's so depressing. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, so that changes everything. Okay, so let's just collect things right and just go back to it. Okay, so in Summit there has to be Hook Beetle, right? Or Cave Ski. I'm so good at this game. Yeah, so either Cave Ski or Hook Beetle, right? And so yeah, okay, that's such a dumb thing, right? I guess that doesn't, okay, so that doesn't, like, affect things too much, right? Okay, Beetle. That doesn't affect things too much, because we do still need Cave's Key, but it does kind of make us a little bit closer to Go Mode, right? Okay, so yeah, there's a Spirit of the Sword. Okay, so that's, okay. I panicked there, but we're still kind of, this all kind of makes sense, right? So right now I am just looking for Cave's Key. Kind of still in that sort of, like, mindset of... I guess now kind of transitioning to, like, mid-game, because, I mean, it's, like, it's either mid-game or go mode, so kind of, at this point I'm going to start, like, prioritizing dungeons a lot, prioritizing FS, and I'll probably go to LMF after this, I think, if I wouldn't already buy the golden rule. Yeah, okay, this wasn't a complete disaster, this is, like, this makes sense. Skyloft Trial and Linear Caves, I already know that. Okay. So doing everything, it makes sense, okay. Yeah, still looking for Cave's Key, and yeah, so... yeah, if I did have Cave's Key, then that would just be incredibly embarrassing and dumb, but you know. I guess doing these videos live also assumes I play these really well, which is not going to happen for most of them. Like, in one of these videos I'm going to make a colossal error like I almost just did then. And again, I don't, like, pretend to be a perfect human being. I'm going to make mistakes. I don't pretend to be the best. There are many better than me. And besides, if I do make a mistake, hey, we can all learn from it. Let's have that mindset. But yeah, no, I haven't made a mistake, unlike I just kind of thought. Still looking for Cave's Key, so still having that sort of, like, mindset. Although, as we are just looking for Cave's Key, it's a lot more, like, focused on dungeons. Alright, so now we know Levias is dead, which is nice, because we've had access to that for ages. Okay. I'm thinking it might just be worth it, as I have the money, it might be worth it going to, Skyloft, then getting the the hook beetle. Like, do that. But I must say, that'd be worth it, because there's a decent, like, in Fire Sanctuary, like a decent chance like a beetle is required. So I'm gonna do that, right? I'm not gonna stay on Skyloft, I'm just gonna go there just to get the stuff that I was talking about. I will also do kind of closer checks, like Paros Crystals, I'll do that one. Not gonna do anything at Patrol, not gonna do anything at, like, Academy. Just gonna go there, get the stuff, and get out. Yeah, and again, this might come back to bite me in the ass later if it isn't even required, but, you know, it's like... It's like kind of like 50-50 chance with Fire Sanctuary that it might not be, that it might be required, or might not be. Doge, there's the Monk Badger right there. And of course, if the thing was on, if the case key was on Para's thing, that'd be like really great. Okay, so there's that. I'm so annoyed that I kind of forgot about the harp hint. Like, damn. I don't think that would have affected anything though. I think I'd still kind of been in that sort of like the correct mindset for that. Yeah, I completely forgot about that. Like, what the fuck was that? What was that, bro? This is why I'm not good at the game, because I always like do a colossal mistake like that. Anyway. Yes, there's the scale, which is useful because it locks Hook Beetle. Again, I might be able to skip all this, but it's like, it's not a risk I'm willing to take. Maybe it might have actually been a good idea to kind of like at least scout out Fire Sanctuary. But then you're kind of I guess if you do Fire Sanctuary and it is beatable, then at that point you're kind of like orphaning the second half of Fire Sanctuary, sort of. I don't know, it's like, I would say that wouldn't be a horrible idea if you were to do that, but it's like, it would be a little bit risky, I guess. But again, this is like just rando, so I can like think about things that happen, but it's like, you know, there's like no real way of knowing which way is the best way until you actually have completed the seed. I think that if we're talking about just clearing Fire Sanctuary, I think doing this first would be more convenient, because then it like, it just removes the chance of double dipping or orphaning checks, so it's like, it's the safer play with what I'm doing here. If you want to be a little bit more aggressive, then I would say go for Fire Sanctuary like this, and if it's then beatable, then just kind of like forget the other checks exist or something, I guess. So I guess at that point it kind of depends who your opponent is, if you want to be aggressive or not. Yeah, at this point, again, we are in go mode, except for the Nehru Caves key. We just need that, then we're go mode. And because of that, I'm kind of, at this point, I'm definitely, like, kind of in, like, the sort of, like, mid-game mentality, I guess. Because at this point, I mean, it's like, we're so close to, like, go mode, you might as well be. Kind of like a combination of mid-game and late game. Okay, I'm gonna do front half first, which is like, not kind of, it's like, it's not, I wouldn't say it's controversial, but it's like, you know, I don't know. It's like, Fire Sanctuary routing has always been weird. I think the boss key is most likely to appear at the back, I think, just on the check statistics. But there's more checks in front half, so it's like, overall, I think I did like the mathematics, and it was like, I think a 52-48 split to front half, actually. So I think that's kind of why it kind of feels like front half is more loaded, despite the fact it's like less likely on each checks, because there's just more checks in front half. And also I did get the hook beetle, so it's like might as well kind of make full use of it. Okay, so then not boss key, that's the thing, and this will always be a key because it has to be. I'm just thinking on the top of my head, but it might actually be worth making like review videos of what I've done here in the like, of kind of like would I have done anything differently or something like that. Because like again with seeds it's kind of hard to decide in the moment, and I think that I don't think I'd have done anything differently like right now, but I might have like missed something or something. Like for example, I know I have missed a few things like, or I have like made a few mental errors like kind of forgetting about Cave's existence or forgetting where Harp was or whatever the whole game. Or something like utterly ridiculous like that. Oh, why? Why game? Why do you do that? But yeah. I'm just trying to go through the game, like through this game and like wonder if I did anything different. I might have like if I'd like realized that I got like that I could have done the LMF first, I would have probably done that before, I think. Ruby tablet, but I don't know. Again, I'll discuss this in a potential review race. I don't know, depends if we review like video, if that might be useful. Plus, I think it's just good to get in the habit of like reviewing your runs either way. And for all the smartest out there, no, I didn't forget balcony check, because I will do back in time and get that. And I will just pray that there's a key here and not anywhere else. Those guys. Yeah, I'm gonna kill those guys with arrows because they will likely drop them. They will likely drop some. No, more jazz links. Come on. Please be a key, otherwise this is dumb. Fuck! Okay, well, that's great. Now we, now we have to kill ourselves, because... I like how those guys are just, like, spawned casually. So yeah, that annoying key placement did kind of leave the front half kind of to end prematurely, but, you know, whatever. I'll probably end up doing it back anyway. If it's required, I'll definitely end up doing it. But maybe, actually, yeah, this is kind of like... Now this puts, like, the... some things in, like, an awkward situation. Kind of thinking. It might be useful to do the map chest RBM, but maybe not, actually, because... This is a long RBM, I think. I'm not gonna do it just yet. My reasoning being is that there's still a chance I'll skip and end up doing map chest normally. Also, yeah, this I guess the fact I'll get a key here actually does kind of put key smuggling into things. Maybe not. I don't know. I haven't really thought about key smuggling, so I might just be completely wrong about that. Yeah, don't drop down the hole. Yeah, the bit warp for Fire Tank is probably one of the more scary bit warps out of all of them. I mean, basically Mirage, yeah. I know. I mean, I don't know how Yao does it, but he's like always like efficient or something. Can be. I mean, Deer, I know like when you played, you had pretty good routing. Hell yeah, sick dodge. But yeah, I'm just kind of like thinking this dungeon in my head. I'm thinking, okay, well, it's kind of like it's unlikely that doing the map chests would RBM would kind of save me time. I mean, okay, if boss key is there, then that's kind of a punch to the gut, but it's unlikely it will be there. Out of all the things, and plus it's like there's still a decent chance I'll come back to front half as well, just in a really annoying way. Staircase chest, the skull. Nice. Oh yeah, got that. Right now I'm kind of like, I don't want to say anything because I feel like I just like fucked up somewhere. But nah, it's like, and yeah, I don't think that like I made like any like horrible plays. I don't think. Now find this dude. Damn it. Oh, I'm out of stamina, no. This dude's annoying, to say the least. No, don't go that way. There's no way. Turn around. Okay, whatever, this works. Yeah, good enough. That was kind of a whack fight, but you know, they're always kind of whack, these ones. Bosky chests. Okay, we're go mode. We are indeed in go mode, because that is the new caves key that we need. Okay. So, that actually kind of worked out. We do need boss key here still, so, you know. I don't know if I saved or not. Actually, I don't think I did. Fuck. Yeah, I don't think I saved, so I might have to do this normally. Did I even shake the statue? I honestly can't remember. I was too busy thinking about the seed. Fuck's sake. Anyway. Okay, so if this is Bosky, I think it'd just be faster to just do this normally. If this isn't Bosky, then I think I'll probably just end up doing the RBM for the statue, I think. I don't know. Fucking improvise, adapt, overcome, I guess. Even then, it might just make sense to do it normally, actually, and then just check the statue. I don't know what would be faster, to be honest. Yeah, I think doing it normally would be faster, I want to say. This hopefully won't break everything. Yeah, we doing fucking no bit strats right here. Yeah, that's small key there did kind of like put a spanner in the works there with the boss key placement, so that's kind of annoying. I feel like that it might actually just be worth it at that point just to go back to get the chest on balcony, then do rest of front half, but I don't know. I almost know how slow this is because I just forgot to do the... Forgot to check the statue like a twat, but it's like whatever. Again, I'm not saying I'm perfect, and besides, we can all learn from my mistakes. And that's kind of why I end up checking the statue just before the dungeon, because of situations like this. At least I hope I checked the statue at the start. If I didn't, that would be real awkward. Yeah, I also feel like situations like this can there's more like an argument to do back half first, because then you don't get into yourself into stitches. It's like, if I did back half first, I'd be able to do just back half, then front half. Not necessarily what I've done front half, back half, front half, but you know, I wasn't a fortune teller, so I couldn't know that like fucking, there would be like, the only, key would be in, what's it called? Would be in like the balcony chest. If anything, it's like more likely it'll be not in that chest. So yeah, it's like... So the seed is probably punished you for doing front half first, but like... Normally, like, this sort of situation wouldn't happen, as I've said. It's like, I don't know, it was just like unlikely. But, you know, unlikely doesn't necessarily mean zero chance. And that's kind of, again, like, that's kind of like a problem with randomizers, like competitive randomizers, is that there's always going to be that sort of luck chance involved, and, you know, like, if a seed really wanted to fuck you over, it absolutely could without your control. So, you know, like even like with like like with like these like strategy videos, I don't like pretend that these will be like the be all and end all of like this will fix all your problems. But like all you can really do as the player is just kind of look at how the seed is unfold and just make the informed choice, right? That's whatever that is. Don't you dare, fairy. I want to die. And yeah, I'm kind of like, with the kind of like informed choice I had, I wanted to go front half, and that didn't work. As well as it kind of could have, so, like, whatever. It happens. You know, it wasn't necessarily like I didn't lose too much time over it, I just kind of, it's like inconvenient routing which caused by, and that's normally the case that what happens with like kind of doing an informed decision and then like messing it and like it being wrong. Normally you only lose time based on like inconvenient routing. But yeah, now we don't really have much to discuss except for Wii Go mode. So now, at this point, we just, you know, at this point it's just purely execution based, and this is normally where execution can rise. So someone like me, right, who's like very much an execution player, this is the point where I tend to shine, is this point. Like, you'll probably notice that I tend to, like, if I win races, it'll normally be here, when I normally overtake the player when I'm, like, at this point. Because my routing isn't amazing, but my execution normally is, although, that being said, I might just die here. It's not perfect, but yeah, it happened, so yeah. Okay, I think thinking about it, the only thing I'd probably done differently is, I think when I'm in the Navy, when I got the whip, I would have probably gone to LMF instead of gone to the chest behind landing. Which, in hindsight, that's nice. In hindsight, that probably wouldn't have been the best choice, because, you know, now I'm going into LMF and go mode. At that point, I wouldn't. But, you know, of course, hindsight is 20/20, and it's like, I think at that point it would be much more likely that Ruby Tablet would have been in LMF. Like, the fact that it was just on chest behind landing was just, like, really lucky from my point of view. Although, actually, I guess that does kind of put the point, as in it's like, I couldn't do LMF in logic at that point, so it would have been a required dungeon, though. But again, it's like, it wouldn't have been in logic, so I guess the fact that that Ruby Tablet was where it was made a lot more sense. And also the fact that Ruby Tablet could not have been in LMF, because there was a beetle in LMF, so that couldn't have been a thing. So I guess maybe the fact that it chest behind landing would have, like, been a good idea. But of course, like, all of, like, the weird, like, things I say I'll normally clear up in the comment section when this video is released. So yeah, for everyone watching this on Twitch, I'm sorry with all the confusion. But yeah, it's kind of like, I guess maybe at that point it's like, that point is kind of like, you should go to LMF because it's a required dungeon, but also it's not in logic, so you should do this one check. It's weird. Well, I'll have to think about like what I kind of should have done, because I kind of just did chest behind landing because I thought, oh, that's the only thing I could do. But yeah, I didn't really give it much thought. And it's kind of like difficult situations like that in Rando, where it wasn't really a clear answer, because I mean, something could have well have been in LMF, or the cave ski could have well been in LMF. And yeah, it's like things like that, kind of. I think as like Senra said earlier, there isn't just like one straight strategy. The strategy will have to change depending on the seed. But again, all you can do as the runner is just kind of try and like envision what the seed is going to look like and try and decide from there. Decide like kind of like, okay, well, most likely something's going to be here, I'll go here. Like, in terms of random, you just have to go based on statistics. And what's the most likely scenario? Improvise, adapt, overcome. Exactly, Otaka. That's basically the definition of rando. Improvise, adapt, overcome. What's better? I think doing LMF is better, I think. First. There is, like, it makes no difference, because... yeah, I think it just makes more sense. Yeah, of course if the boss key is right at the end, like in a key locked, in like, the Gus Brothers room, and I know that that'd be bad because I know where the key is on the boss key. If that's the case, then no difference would have actually been made if I were to have done this early. But for now, it's like the only real questionable part of my route. Everything else kind of just made sense. I think even with that hiccup where I just forgot where Harp was. Like, I kind of, like, from here, I kind of stand by everything I did in the seed. It's a nice little whip strat here, which I would recommend you try and learn, because you can do this dungeon without the 2 hook beetles. And this is not in logic, by the way. And yeah. And I guess kind of like just doing that chest behind bars early. I don't have to do it now, and so there's like 0 backtracking to it. Okay, so looking at the season now, it's kind of unlikely that I'll sub 2 this. Just by looking at the like kind of like, unless I get really good boss key placement in like both the next dungeons, it's unlikely I'll sub 2 this, I think. If I get really bad, I'll probably be like a 2-1x or something. It's kind of hard to predict what time you'll get from like just when you have like 2 dungeons left, because again, so much can differ depending on where the boss keys are. But yeah, if I were racing against other people, from my perspective and the choices that I made, I'd kind of be hoping that boss queue would be early on, so that not doing LMF until now, like, paid off. And so, like, go mode LMF would be really quick. Yeah, I guess, like, LMF is kind of like one of those dungeons where, like, not go moding it is not a horrible thing. Or, like, I guess go moding it and opposed to it, like, because you still have to go to, like, right at the end of the dungeon. It's just that you do a lot, like, you do a lot less, I guess. Okay, almost fight. So nice convenient bombs there, because I was kind of out of bombs in. Bro. Game, can you not? Nice, I missed. As you do. Technical movement there. I find that movement to be very satisfying when I hit that. It's like, oh, I did some like blind, like what felt like task movement, yeah, but it's like, you know, It's not too hard when you get the hang of it. It just looks cool, in my opinion. Yeah, of course, right now in Go mode, so not a whole lot to say. Other than just kind of like route dungeons correctly and just kind of like, you know, go through it. I mean, in the case of LMF, routing dungeons is like in Go mode is fairly easy because there's not like really one straight path. In Ancient System, it's a little bit worse and there's a lot more diversity. So doing it in Go mode is like, good luck. There's like a lot more. Like, yeah, in Go mode it's like, well, there's a lot more different options. So yeah, good luck. Fuck. Ah, he died. Those guys can be quite annoying in this room. Like that. I might reload this too much actually, so this might not be possible. Yeah, I don't think it is, even from like here or something. Yeah, okay, whatever. That's kind of annoying. I've been doing that a lot where I just load it too much. This... Okay, so if I were to have done LMF early, it is looking better for that version of me, because me right now still has to look for the boss key, and it looks like it's looking like I might be doing a full clear. Just looking for boss key, because the boss key seems to be quite bad placement. Save here, because if I do find the boss key, I can always just death warp. Okay, now doing kind of like dumb minecart trick. It isn't like too hard, at least in SD. Yeah, it's like, it's kind of sort of precise, but it's like, I think there were worse tricks in the game. Cough, lily pad, skip, cough. But yeah. So yeah, this video has been alright. I feel like that forgetting where Harp was kind of shook me a little bit, so then it's like, I think that this video kind of suffered a little bit from there, but it's like not too bad. In terms of checks per minute, I'm doing quite good for now. It's a little bit less than I'd want. It's 99 checks when we're at like 107 minutes, which is quite good for this part of the game. Normally your checks per minute tend to go below 1 at like around like mid to late point of the game. I didn't mention this earlier, but I did kind of see it was around even, like at like early to mid. And yeah, checks per minute is normally a good metric of like seeing how fast the seed is, but also seeing how fast kind of you are. Okay, so I would need to do the boss key jet. Okay, so yeah, this would have been a really nice seed for if I did LMF first, because then I wouldn't have had to like worry too much about the fucking like getting like skipping any of it. And this kind of illustrates why you should do dungeons early, because even if there's nothing in there, sometimes you might end up naturally fully clearing them anyway, because the boss key might just be straight up at the end of the dungeon. Of course, it might be the first thing you check, but that's like the kind of risk you have with dungeons in that regard. Yeah, I do think that Sandship's a quicker dungeon than LMF, but yeah, this is probably gonna be probably a sub 2, probably a sub 210 or sub 220, either one. Yeah, of course right now there isn't really much strategy involved in this. This is just kind of me doing go mode, me and like execution stuff. I guess if you wanted to like look at what I'm doing here, like this video can still be useful now because you can kind of like see what I'm doing here. And kind of like take notes, because a lot of like the execution stuff here is going to be like quite valuable. But I'll make a separate video on like, execution alone. Not just for rando, but for probably like vanilla runs as well, because that's, I mean, vanilla runs is where like execution is like the whole point. In rando, execution still serves a big purpose, hence why I'm not lower down the leaderboards than I probably otherwise would be. Not to say that execution is like my only strong suit. I'd say my routing is like not bad, hence I'm making these videos, but I know there are especially those who can out-route me pretty well. Key, which is, yeah, required, basically. I found that the earlier I get that hint, the more likely I'm going to need that key. I don't know if that has anything to do with logic or anything, but that's just kind of something that I've kind of noticed. I guess. Normally in, like, vanilla runs, you normally just death off from there, so I'm not, like, used to doing that strat. So, of course, we still need to find the boss key, so we cannot death warp. Oh, I forgot to oh, damn. Okay, that's fine. Another instance of do what I say, not as I do. I forgot to do a thing, which would have been really useful. But I always do. I just forgot it, like, once this time. It isn't, like, required, but it, like, I feel like you can, like, kind of, like, break the game if you don't do this. And I might as well do it for demonstration purposes, since I should have done this anyway. I know, more annoying time loss, but it's okay, whatever. Yeah, it's raising this gate here so that it can, like, pass through the over there. That's the thing that I should have done as I first came here, but I just kind of forgot. Very annoying, but it's okay. Actually, I feel like it'd be faster to straight up just follow this minecart, to be honest. We're doing, like, untold... I would never do this strat, but here we are. I don't know if this is faster or doing the minecart jump again. I don't know, probably one of the two. I don't have shields, this is gonna be fucking amazing. Please don't see me, please don't see me. Thank you. Yeah, that definitely felt faster had I done that instead of anything else. So yeah, again, do as I say, not as I do. There should be a whole, like, pinned comment from me about all, like, the mistakes I made here, and I'll do an entire, like, review run, or review video on, like, reviewing what I did here, and kind of what I kind of should have done. Because again, as we know, I'm not perfect. Oh, fuck you. I'm not perfect, so it's like, whatever. God damn it. Damn it, he killed me before I could kill myself. Okay, but that's cool because we have the boss key, so now we can just go ahead and beat LMF. So yeah, if I did this dungeon earlier, the only thing I would have really, the only thing I've skipped now would be like the Guts Fellows room. So yeah, like for the people who want to do dungeons early, this is like the type of scenario that you want. For boss keys to be really later on. So I think if I were to have done the LMF, it would have made more sense. But again, it's like I'll talk about it more in like the kind of like the review video. Well, like, fairly simple dungeon boss. Hit-based, so the fact that I have TMS means literally nothing. Okay, kind of have to do 2 there, which isn't great. That was weird. Do 2 there. So now I just have to do 3, I think. Why, game? Why can't I just shoot? What? That was like weird, but okay. Yeah, he dead. Dungeon number 2 down. Now we just got sand chip. Then we're good. So I guess whilst I'm finishing, I kind of recap everything about efficiency. So I think that one analogy that I kind of like, a lot of people say randomizer is like all luck based. Yes, luck is a huge element in this game, but I think in a lot of ways it's kind of like Tetris, right? Where it's like mostly about decision making, like, and you just kind of have to make them as you go, and they have to be kind of like, I guess unlike Tetris. In Tetris you kind of like meander around bad decisions. In this game, this is entirely about decision making, with a little bit of execution to kind of like. If you have, as we've established, if you have good execution, you can normally, like, save yourself in a few instances. But yeah, it's like, there is some strategies, and of course these videos, they're not, like, the be-all and end-all. They, like, it's all about kind of, like, looking at your kind of, your board, your, like, the seeds, or, like, the track, or, like, whatever, and just trying to make the most likely play. Okay, it's gonna, the item I need is most likely going to be here, so I'm gonna do that, right? And so, in terms of efficiency, which is mostly what this video is about, in the early game, efficiency... okay, actually, before that, the golden rule, right? This is essentially just, if something has more checks, go there. And of course this makes sense. because of course a 10 out of, as we discussed, a 10 out of 15 chance is always going to be more likely than a 5 out of 15. Giant wallet, let's go. I didn't mark any wallets this time. Cool. So yeah, like, kind of always follow the golden rule, even for, like, doesn't matter what stage you are, just kind of the golden rule needs to at least be in some part of your decision making. Nice save and quit instead of cancelling, yeah. In the early game should be where you follow this rule the most, because then it's like, there's so many items that you still have to get. It's likely you'll run into one even if you're like ignoring stuff like Spirit of the Sword hints. Thunderhead, yeah, that's such a good thing here. It wasn't even in Thunderhead actually. Oh, Mitz, I think? I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, I was saying, yeah, in the, I was like, okay, notice how I checked that hint? I will still check hints if I'm like looking for, like, in Go mode, because they might tell me where the boss key is in Sandship, and then I like skip a whole looking for it in Sandship. Anyway, so yeah, in the early game, you want to make sure that you're following it to the max. Again, as I've said, there's just so many things you need that are in the pool. It's likely you'll just stumble upon one. But try and stay in logic, because then it's like, because I think if you kind of jump out of logic too much, when making big decisions, it can sometimes like, you can kind of lead to unnecessary dipping in some cases. Of course, do out of logic checks, please, because they can give you some really useful information about the seed, which I'll get into in the third video. But for now, it's like it's useful to get them if they're like if out of logic are close, but not useful to kind of make decisions about them. Tree's now gone. Let's go. So yeah, and of course, like, this might change if like any of like my strategies that I say change. Of course, it'll be in the comments, of course, of the YouTube video, not in Twitch. So yeah. So yeah, early game mostly follow golden rule. If two areas have like similar checks, like amounts of checks, like in this case it was Farron and Skyloft. Go based on Spirit of the Sword hints, because it makes us a little bit more likely that you'll find something, not any more guaranteed, but just a little bit more likely. And so there's a Spirit of the Sword in the village, so I decided to go to Skyloft, and I got really rewarded with the bomb bag. Yeah, we got TMS, we got it actually quite early on. Yeah, most games do not look like this. Normally you're looking for swords for ages in most seeds. So yeah. So that's like the early game mentality. If you're in the mid game mentality, right, it's like that's more about dungeons, which I'll get into kind of later on, but it's still kind of about, like, if you're kind of still choosing between dungeons, definitely still kind of focus on that golden rule of, okay, there's more things here, go get that, right? Of course, like, as it relates to efficiency, it's more just about kind of, you know, just kind of like small scale things, like how's the best way of routing dungeons and stuff, all of which I should cover in the next video, assuming I know what I'm doing right. But it's kind of like, in terms of efficiency, it's much better to like do that sort of thing, because it's like, because these are things you kind of have to do anyway, and it's better to do them in the mid game, not into like the early game. Because in the early game, like, you can sometimes do dungeons a little bit too early, and then often the earlier you do a dungeon, the kind of like the less likely you are. But first of all, the more likely you are to dip it multiple times. Second of all, you're removing your chances of go moding it. If you do it at kind of like a mid game point, at least, then at that point you're a little bit more likely to kind of do it, do go mode. Of course, you want to be really, really, really aggressive. You could just wait till go mode, but like a middle ground to all of this is just do it when you're in kind of like the late game mentality, which is when you can when you can beat all your dungeons, I'd say, is like the kind of threshold that I try to stick towards. And then once you've done all your dungeons, or you just have 2 items from go mode, and you're in the late game sort of thing, kind of swap back to the sort of like the golden rule mentality of, okay, there's more checks here, do that. Try and be a lot more efficient that way, but also try to have a little bit more heavier focus on hints and stuff like that. And be a little bit more aggressive with your routing, because there's a lot less items in the pool, and a lot less chance you'll just stumble across it. So that's kind of like the basic sort of thing in efficiency, and again, sometimes you can follow all these steps and the game can just shit on you, right? That'll happen. But your job as the runner should be to try and minimize any potential like downfall and stuff of like I downfall like anything like making better. I think that like, by just focusing on the golden rule can just do exactly that. I guess one other thing to know about in late game is that normally in the late game it's normally better to, unless it's like scripted Skyloft 1, it's normally better in the late game to kind of try and chain areas more effectively. I mean, you should chain areas more effectively anyway, but in the late game there's a lot more opportunities to do so. Because then at that point you can like start to like skip areas, or like, for example, the thing I gave of there's 3 checks in Sandsea left and you're in the Neru versus 19 in Elden. You're probably gonna do Elden at that point. Like that, those sorts of instances should kind of be considered throughout the entire game, but I believe should be kind of more common the later you get into a game, because then it's more likely to have a more impact. I like how weird that cutscene is, but I'm glad there's no text there because it's short. So yeah, again, that's the basics of efficiency in my mind, right? And yeah, so now we got to do left is just kind of finish this dungeon and finish the game. Chest at stern. Oh, the boss key. If this was the key, if it was a small key, I'd probably do like boss key chest right now. Yeah, right, like, I kind of thought that Slingshot could have been the Spirit of the Sword in the EU Weekly. I didn't want to, like, hold on to that, because there was still that kind of, like, there's still a possibility that the Bertie could have been Spirit of the Sword, which was exactly what happened, right? And that's kind of why that's kind of why I kind of dipped to Village in that instance, because I was kind of thinking, okay, well, if this is something like Scale, which is the only thing that's left, then, well, I'll be able to do more dungeons. And I'll skip, and I might potentially skip into life, like that sort of thing, right? And yeah, I think the shorter I think you make an interesting point, like, I guess, like, it makes sense, like, the smaller the dungeon, like, you should kind of do it anyway, because I guess the smaller the dungeon is, the less likely you're going to lose time. So that is also, like, so it's like, in Skyview or Citizen, you're much less likely going to lose time than you are in something like Fire Sanctuary or LMF. So that's definitely something you should probably think about. I guess, like, the length of the dungeon as well. Yeah. And yeah, this run should do Gentle Skip unless I forget because I'm an idiot. So you guys should be able to see that with the Bit Magic file, which would be interesting. And I've done this like 4 times in a row because for like the last few seeds, which is like insane. Yeah, looks like we'll get a 2. That LMF boss key placement made it kind of that would probably get like quite a lower time than I was expecting. So probably like a 210 or less. Probably less because boss key is in basement. So yeah, not great boss key placements for any of the dungeons really. This run could have probably been a lot shorter had there been like better boss key placements. But yeah, it'd be like that sometimes. I will save here though. So if I do find the boss key, I can then just death warp right here. I guess that's kind of a good thing about doing this check early, is you can just do that. So it's less backtracking you'll have to do. Nice. Also kind of like not talking as much because my throat's starting to hurt and I'd rather like not have a dead throat, personally. So yeah, I'll continue to talk as I can, but it's like, you know, one man can only do so much talking. Yeah, right now, I mean, again, not much to say. I've kind of like covered everything I want to cover in terms of efficiency. The only real thing to wonder in this is kind of, yeah, what would I done when I got whipped? Should I have gone like to LMF or not? And of course, I'll discuss this a lot more in detail in like the kind of like review, which I should post shortly after this goes live. Maybe not. Depends. Like after the stream, I'll probably just do it. And that'll just be where I talk about this seed specifically and what like I kind of should have done had I like stuck to what I'm saying. Because again, it's always like do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, damage down here because if I do find boss key before like a heart piece or anything, I can easily kill myself. It is a little bit kind of nervous to be around like keys at one heart, but it's like, you know, if you're quick enough, it isn't too bad. What do you mean it's very randomized? Are you talking about like... Oh yeah, I don't know what you're talking about here. You be talking about multiple things in my mind. Probably mostly because the documentary is called Randomized. I don't know. I mean, in its literal form, yes, the seed is very randomized. It's very random. Items are very randomly placed. Right, yeah. Honestly, the kappa that you said should have probably, like, confirmed, oh yeah, it's like, duh, of course it's fucking randomized. That's the whole point, it's a randomizer. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, this seed wasn't really like anything in the Winter Tourney. Because Winter Tourney didn't have 3 dungeons. Yeah, another thing about being on like low health here is just make sure you don't like get crushed. I've lost a few like old 80% runs to that. I remember that, like, oh, the good old days where you just fucking lose so much time to dying here. Another painful one I used to die to was Tentalus. That was like such. I barrel RNG like maybe lose 5 minutes once. That was like amazing. Like whatever the sign is. Well, and now at this point we're just kind of hoping that we don't find like any health related stuff because that would make dying a lot harder. Okay, good. Boom, then we did. And because number 1 we're in go mode, but also number 2 because we got the hint about the what's it called? The thing. The heart container. Because we got the hint about that. What am I doing? I expected to be at the beginning of the dungeon, not here. Why? I saved. I should remember doing this. Oh, yeah, the good old days when the hardest thing was, like, early life tree seedling. I mean, back in the day, that was actually, like, relatively hard, because no one understood what the fuck was going on. Like, I remember early on, it took me a while to get it down, because I had no idea what RBM was. No one did. But yeah. Were you even, like, here in the good old days, Harm? I don't know when you joined Skyward, so... I think you were definitely in Breath of the Wild at that point. Yeah, my throat's starting to die. I can tell I'm coughing a little bit. Ugh. Yeah, Green Up Bruiser, yeah. That was like, I think that's still a while ago though. That was definitely like 2018 at least, I think. I know he did the, he did like the ZSR marathon thing in 2017, I remember that. So yeah. I guess it's a little bit about Tentless Skip. This video has nothing to do about Tentless Skip, but might as well just get a little context. If you made a Land Everywhere Elden file setup, you don't have to actually like do the sleep tonight, because you should probably just bonk into a tree and then boom, this room would be open. Because we have a bit magic file, it's not immediately open, so we lose a little bit of time, but it still individually saves time. I guess it does. I also like. I mean, by doing a bit magic file, you don't have to like actively set up a file, so it saves time in that regard. It isn't as much as the 90 seconds that it normally saves, but it's still a decent. It still saves more than just doing Tentless, I think. So now we get to see all the betrothals we didn't get. I think we didn't do 30. Yeah, we'll see what's at like 30. We won't see 30 chests though, because I already like never got that. Okay, Rattle was at 30, right. Interesting. Trying to do optimal text is hard. Okay, so start that, do back in time correctly, and then we should be good to... Hell yeah. Of course, this just straight up commits it. We don't have to do anything like fancy, like shoot anything. It's the one where he says like push the thought out of your mind forever or something. It's that text box. I just know the last word of that is forever, and I just do it on that one. I never count text boxes. I just remember what they say. Or like I think in like a case of like I know in 80% of the betrothed RBM to get the statue. I remember that was just pure muscle memory. I just knew the rhythm of when to do that. Because funny enough, when you do something for 24 hours, you tend to get really good muscle memory off of it. Even if the route like completely changes like 2 weeks later. Like it did for both times actually. Yeah. Or just English in general, that RBM took like way longer. I swear it was like accountable for like 50% of the time loss. Yo, it's a bottle. Okay, so now we just beat the game, and that's all there is to it. There's literally nothing else. We did everything. Yeah, it could have been probably a little bit better in certain situations. But I think that I got kind of lucky in certain situations, or maybe not. I don't know. I kind of like followed everything I said to a decent extent, and then it paid off. So I like that. We have 6 hearts. We do have TMS, so that makes things a lot better. Yeah, we had Monka battery like before the E-Weekly, yeah. I will probably change these batteries though beforehand. I'm not like a psychopath like I was previously. Well, they did just go like Monka battery, so I might be able to eke them out one more race actually. I don't know, we'll see. So you might be wondering, there's like no bokoblins here. I did something wrong. No, I didn't. I just didn't go through the hop cutscene. Which isn't even really a cutscene, it's more just a text box now because Yao reduced it. Which is actually quite nice, to be honest. There's no more like spreading butter or anything, but you know, it's like, it's not too bad. Okay, 40. One thing to note about Tentless Skip I didn't mention is that Tentless Skip is only possible if you have 30 crystals or more. Which is why I selected file 1, because it was the only file I had where I had 30 crystals. So if you enter Tentless with 25 crystals, then that's just sad. Even sad if you like try to do it and then it just doesn't work. Oh yeah, if like Betrothed 10 had like 5, that'd be like so big brain though if you like remember that. Oh yeah, 20 crystals, but they both had like 5 crystals. That would be like so big brain if anyone would do that. I don't think I'd have the mental power to remember that. In fact, I barely have the mental power to like remember anything. Oh fuck you. Die. Word. Coming up is horde skip. It's kind of hard. I failed it quite recently, so I'm just going to assume that I won't fail it here. Also, what was it? I think in the EU Weekly, right? I actually died in Horde in the race. I did Horde skip, I just died in Horde. Hopefully that will not happen again. Okay, I noticed the position was a little bit off that time, so I kind of adjusted, and that was quite nice. Yeah, good thing about like I tend to like warm up with Horde, Gear Him, and Demise, which I'll get into in the execution-based video. But yeah, it's like I think by doing that, it's like by warming up with endgame, you start to get like really good at endgame. Okay, I have to be really careful here because I'm on like no health. Oh my god. Okay, that was really lucky RNG from that dude. I could have ended so much worse, and now I really need to be safe here. Not like, I mean, I'm confident I can do Archer's damageless. I've done it many times, but you know, it's like just have to be mindful that you're on 2 fucking HP. Yeah, I'm like, I think I'm gonna make 3 videos here. I'm gonna make one on efficiency, which is this one on dungeons, one on logic, and then one on execution, I think, and like how I trained execution. Pick that up, why not? Might need it. Show us the text box, but I need it. Wait, Senra, I need context. Why are you pinging people? I'm very curious. Also, yeah, don't forget Serenade. It just looks cool. Oh, come on. Nice. Also, yeah, this, I think, is, like, the most likely flight to have bad motion. We haven't really had any bad motion, like, for the entire... The only issues with controllers have been, like, nunfucks, but that'll happen. Fun fact, right? I'm pretty sure that, like, around 2017, 2018, I'm pretty sure, like, me and Flo coined nunfuck. At least that's the first time I remember it being used in conversation. Nice having TMS here, so I can just do this strat. Yeah, TMS is like makes the endgame much faster. It's not necessarily something that you would want to look for, because it like at that point like Master Sword still does its job, but it's like better in terms of like. Oh my god, I somehow misread that. Yeah, it's TMS makes things a little bit more convenient. Okay. So not too long till the end. It was like a 220 something, which is like it could have been a 2-1, I think, or even a 2-0, I think, if like boss key placement was better. But it wasn't that great, so you know, it's whatever. And I think I did play quite well. I think that the way I played the seed was definitely. I made the better choices, but I don't know if I made the right choices for like, or like the most informed choices. I don't know. I'll discuss it more in the review, which I won't do live because I do actually want to think about the seed first and then discuss it. But it should be released some point after this, and this video should actually be released like right after the stream actually. But yeah. good seed. I kind of liked it. Wasn't like too slow in some places. It was like quite easy to read in certain places. But I think if this was a race against like Jasnix or Yao, I might have won though. But I wouldn't count those two out for winning under the weirdest of circumstances, because there have been many races that I thought I would win, but I haven't. But anyway, 2:24.31, not bad time. That's like slightly. I think that's about average. If anything, slightly below average time, but it's pretty good. I've had much worse. I've had better, but I've had much worse. So yeah, that's the efficiency video in this all. As mentioned previously, everything else that might be useful will be in the description or the comment section. If this video was shit, then please tell me, because then I'll make the series again. And yeah, cool. Right.